Hello, everyone. I am Elizabeth, and I'm here with my sweet baby boy that God has so graciously blessed us with and protected through everything because the Lord knows that devil was coming after him, but thank God he had his hand of protection over our sweet angel. Anyway, I just wanted to come and talk about like biblical names. The Bible refers to names as having power. I've been thinking, and I'm watching a video. Um, it's a teaching by Robert. I don't know how to say that. His last name Madu. I'm not sure, but it's the teaching is called "Believing God for Mighty Things," right? I didn't make it through the whole video, but he was talking about names because names have power. The Bible refers to name, like when it talks about names, it mentions that names have power, which is why God has gone out of, like, even gone and changed some of the characters, or like not character, but like the people's in the Bible's names. Um, and when I was pregnant with our baby boy, I was talking with my husband. I'm like, I want a biblical name. And before we knew the gender, we were talking. We're like, okay, if it's a little boy, my husband would name him. If it's a little girl, I would name her. And so my husband ended up naming him. His favorite Bible character is Moses. So that's his first name, is Moses. And the second Bible character he chose was Luke, mainly because he wanted to say, Luke, I am your father, you know. And Moses means like pulled out of, or like drawn out of, kind of like how as a baby Moses was drawn out of the water, or he helped God draw his people out of Israel. Moses means drawn out or pulled out, and then Luke means enlightened, like or that Yahweh is my light, you know. So together it kind of means like pulled out of the dark, and he's enlightened, or at least that's how I like to see it. That's how I like to see it, which is really important to me also because the most important thing to me as a mother, as a Christian mother who believes in heaven and hell, who knows our Lord and Savior, the most important thing is that my children love God, that they follow and seek God. They put Jesus first in everything, That is so important. If I mess up in anything, that'd be anything else, not in that. If I get one thing right, if I just get one thing right, I want it to be that I raise my children in a way that they have a relationship with Jesus. I'm sorry, my baby boy is so congested. He's not, I have some nasal things for him since he's still so little. He can't take anything for it, and he was born in flu season, but luckily it's not the flu. We got him tested, not RSV, anything like that. So he's good. Anyway, where was I? Hold on. Where was I? Moses, pull down. I can't remember where I was. Anyway, I think it is very important to go with biblical names. Oh, and yeah, that he just be raised up in God. Which I think it's funny. I only found that out after we had Moses, that his name means pulled out, like drawn out of. And then his second name means enlightened. Yahweh is my light. So, like, in my eyes, it's like he's going to be drawn out of the dark and enlightened by by the Lord. And I know he's going to be used for mighty things because I almost lost him in my first trimester. My body didn't want to carry him. I don't know why. Most terrifying experience of my life when I didn't know if he was okay. And then I started spotting in my third trimester and in my second. And I had to leave my job early due to stress and etc. Right? And the whole pregnancy, I'm just like, God, please have your hand over him. And, it's funny, you're always worrying, even when they're in the womb, and then it gets even worse when they're out of the womb, because it's like, now you think, when I was pregnant, I was like, once he's out of the womb, I know he will have made it here safely, and I won't have to worry anymore. Well, now he's here, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he's getting sick, there's this, there's that, like, I don't trust people, and, like, I wish he was in the womb where he was safe, which obviously he was not, like, he still had struggles in the womb, but you're just always going to worry as a mother, as a parent in general, you want your child to be okay, you want your child to be safe. And I think that names, they hold a lot of power. So many people are like, oh yeah, I like that name, I'll name them that. Oh yeah, I like that name, I'll name them that. I think it's more than just liking a name. I think you should really put thought into what you're going to name your baby, because names hold a lot of power. That's something that they have their whole lives with them, unless they get it, like, legally changed. Their name is their name. It's what they're known by. When you go up, oh, this is that person. Like, this is, when you're talking about someone, you mention someone, they'll know that person by their name, right? Obviously. And, if you look in the Bible, Moses was a very strong character, or like a very strong person in the Bible. Great physical strength, great strength in God. He just had so much rooted in God. Now, he didn't always like to listen and everything, right? Even when when God wanted him to go to speak to the Israelites while they were still in Egypt, he's like, I'm not a good public speaker. But Moses was a very well-educated man. It's not that he wasn't a good speaker. He just, he didn't really want to do it. And you see all these Bible characters saying, God, I don't want to do that. But at the end of the day, he had the strength of God in him, and he had a love for people that God had, as angered as he would get sometimes with the Israelites, because they were always complaining, they were always like going through something, and they were always putting him through it. They were always putting God through it. They were always putting Moses through it. He never gave up on them, and Moses was so willing to take their suffering upon him, so that way they wouldn't have to deal with suffering. He was always so willing to take everything upon himself. And that shows a love for people that God had, I want my child to have, and I'm so happy with the name that my husband chose. I didn't even choose this name, but I have a love for it because I want my baby to have a love for people where not only does he seek God, but he wants others to follow God. I want him to be a leader, and Moses was a leader. I want him to be strong, and my baby is like super smart. He's super strong. When he gets a grip on something, my goodness, it doesn't feel like the grip of a little baby, From the day he was born, he was so alert, so smart, so on top of his game, and like strong. Just, he was looking around, and as a leader, you have to be very aware of what's going on around you. And Moses was very, like, had to be on top of his game, always, always seeking God, always, God, let me get everything from you, you know. From the day that Moses was born, it wasn't even a full hour later, his eyes wide open, looking around. My older brother, maybe an hour or two after he was born, my older brother came in and started holding him and was wrapping him in the blanket. And so my baby doesn't like to be swaddled, like, especially he doesn't like his arms to be contained. He likes to be where he can do whatever, move around, right? So here my brother is trying to swaddle him, and Moses is over here flinging the blanket off. And he's what, less than 2 hours old. And he's just flinging the blanket right off of him. You know, he's like, no, I don't want that. And so he'd tuck it in. He would tuck in the blanket in between my baby and him, so that way it'd be snug. And he'd still manage to fling it off. Newborn baby. Newborn. And the crazy thing is, when I started going into labor, I woke up at 2 a.m. or around 2 a.m. because I was babysitting the night before, right? Here's the thing, is I was babysitting the night before having him, and I started having contractions, but I thought they were Braxton Hicks. I'm like paying no mind. I'm like, Well, I wake up the next day, significantly more painful, called my mom, started timing them. They were 3 minutes apart. By the time we left the house, they were 2 minutes apart. At 3 a.m., Moses woke up while I'm in labor, right? I can feel him kicking, I can feel him moving as I'm having the contractions, and he's just moving and kicking, and he would not stop. Like, even when my contractions would calm down, he was still moving. He was moving way more than he normally did, right? He would stay awake in my womb for a long time, in general. Like, he would stay awake for like 2 hours. The whole time I was in labor, till maybe an hour or two after it was a few hours, maybe 2 hours after he was delivered, he was awake. Yeah, oh, he's pushing out a fart. He's working at it. He was awake during the whole, process, pretty much. And from 3 a.m., he was delivered at 10:30 a.m., my first child. I went from 4 centimeters dilated. I was still 4 centimeters dilated at 8 a.m. 8 a.m., still 4 centimeters dilated. But I could feel myself start pushing. When I got there at 3 in the morning, they were like, hey, you're 4 centimeters dilated, but his head is right there. And I had told the nurse, I'm like, my baby wants out. He's getting himself out. Which is crazy because, like I said, his name means pulled out of, or drawn out of. He was like, I'm coming out, right? And, his whole process was, just shocking to me. I was telling the nurse at about 8 a.m., I'm like, hey, I'm pushing. She's like, you're only 4 centimeters dilated. You still have pretty much all day. I'm like, hey, you know what? I can't stop pushing this. I don't know if that's normal. It's my first baby, but, he wants out. So, do I have a nurse in here, or do I just deal with it all day until he's, right there? Well, he was already right there, and she's like, no. Well, then, finally, about 8:30, she checks me. Hey, you're 8 centimeters dilated. I was 4 prior. She's like, you're dilating pretty quickly. In 30 minutes, I went from 4 centimeters dilated to 8 centimeters dilated. She's like, you're ready to have this baby. I'm like, I knew it. I couldn't stop pushing. And I did everything without an epidural, so luckily it went quickly. But he surprised the nurses because he wanted out. He was not staying in the womb. He was like, I'm getting out of here. There's nothing stopping me. And he was like, okay. And pushing himself out of the womb. They said he was literally stretching himself, trying to get out, like he wanted out. He was ready. And I don't think my birth would have gone that fast if he wasn't trying to get himself out. He was just so strong. He shocked the nurses. He was born so strong. And I think because he was awake for so long and pushing himself so far hard, when he first came out of the womb, he came out very pale, but still very strong lungs, crying. He just came out very pale because I'm assuming it's because he was pushing himself so hard. And he was only a 6-pound baby. Like, he wasn't big. You know, he was 6 pounds, 3.8 ounces when he was born. Crazy how strong he was, how aware he was, and he was born early too. He was born 2.5 weeks early, pretty much, which isn't too early, you know. He was fully developed, but he was born 2.5 weeks early at 6.6 pounds, 3.8 ounces. I thought he was going to be a lot bigger because he was weighing in at a lot bigger, which can happen. It's just I thought he was going to be a lot bigger. He was, oh my goodness, he just amazed me, this boy. And he is such a good baby, I'm telling you what. I noticed he'll cry and stuff, but you know how Moses in the Bible was a good leader. Like, he put his needs last and everything, you know. And I noticed with our baby Moses, if I'm upset, if I'm like worked up, I'm tired, so I'm crying, I haven't had sleep at all, it's too much going on, and he'll start smiling at me, and he'll look at me, and he's like, and he'll try and get my attention. And then if I'm not calming down, then he'll start crying. He's very empathetic. Like, I don't know, I just feel like he wants people around him to be happy. I know it sounds crazy because he's so little, but he's just a wonderful baby, and I thank God for him so much. Now, that being said, it does not, no matter what your child's name is, God can use them. Okay? God can use your child no matter what their name is. Period. Like, God is God, you know? But I think the name you give your child should be very well thought out. What does your child's name mean? Where does it stem from? Like, why are you naming your child that? Is it more than just, I like the name, you know? Because I think it should be more than just, oh, I like that name, you know? And I'm just so proud of our baby, and like, I'm so grateful to God because Moses has been put through it in the Bible, but also our baby Moses, he survived a lot, you know? Moses in the Bible, you see, they were gonna kill all the baby boys, and he survived that. He made it out. He survived a lot more than that. I'm too tired to come up with all the scenarios, but here my baby is, and he survived almost being miscarried. He survived my body just not wanting to hold him. He comes out, he gets sick, he's already had a fever here and there, he survived it. And he was born in a time where, now I'm always worried. I'm like, oh my gosh, this, and this. But I know God has a plan for my child. And it's even more so because if God can use you or someone else in a mighty way, the devil is going to come after that. I know the devil doesn't want my child here, but God protected him. So I had already was thinking when I almost miscarried him in my first trimester, after hours and hours of bawling and sobbing and crying and throwing up and just being so overwhelmed, I was so out of emotion. I was like, God, if you want to take my child home, if it is better for my child, for my baby, because I still didn't know the gender of my baby at this time. It was my first trimester. And that was the closest he had gotten to being miscarried, I'm like, God, if this is from you, take my child home. I do not want my child suffering so bad through life. And most importantly, I do not want my child to be without you. If my child is going to be without you, take them home now so they can always have you, so they can go home with you immediately in peace. And just thinking about that now, that was the hardest, because he's my baby. I didn't want to go without him, but I'm like, God, thank God he's here. He's strong. Please do not let my child be without you ever. And if this is not from you, give him strength. Make him stronger than I am, because I'm clearly not strong enough to hold up if my baby is suffering, Make him stronger than me, and most importantly, make him strong in you. Make him someone where he goes to you first. And he did. My child, I can see it in him already, God gave me an ease. He protected him from that. He protected him in my 3rd trimester. He protected him through any sickness he's gotten so far. And my baby continues just to have, I could tell in the womb, he has a fighting spirit, A few days after the ER visit in my 1st trimester, I went to get a sonogram. And he's got his little squirmy body, he looked like a fish almost at that time. He's just a little thing. It was my first sonogram. And I was 2 months pregnant when I found out I was pregnant, So I was at the very end of my 1st trimester, my first sonogram was. And he was just moving and moving and moving. Of course, I couldn't feel him moving at that time. He was so tiny. But he was moving. From the time that I could start feeling him move, he was moving a lot. He was kicking hard. He would kick me so hard, which I loved, because then I knew my baby was strong. Then I knew he would kick me extremely hard from the 2nd trimester to the point when I almost felt like he would bruise my rib cages sometimes with the way he would kick me, which I didn't mind. I'm like, I don't care as long as my baby's healthy. And I'm like, I was just impressed. I was like, thank God my baby is strong. And through all of the pain of labor, I'm like, I would totally do it again. I had him without an epidural. It was definitely the worst pain of my life. But he came out so strong. He came out just perfect, He is so perfect. And I couldn't be happier for him. He is. Oh, no. Oh, baby boy. He's starting to cry a little. He gets nightmares. He's asleep. He gets nightmares. Hey, baby. Anyway, I'm going to end this video so I can tend to him because he's asleep, but he's starting to fuss. Okay, love y'all. Bye.